Well, have you had a good enough time to come again next year?
Good question.
In spades. Great question. And yes, I have. I'm absolutely going to be here. I'm committed now. This is too much fun.
Yes.
This is so much
You should
fun.
just stay here all year.
But audio-wise, you had mentioned in the audio interview that we saw on the web that iPods are the next generation of hi-fi. Personally, I don't believe it. What are your thoughts?
Well, what I meant is that 78 RPM records went away and vinyl LP took their place. And that took about 20 years. LPs finally went away when CDs came along. And that took a little less than 20 years. CDs have been around for a little more than 20 years. And now it's time that CDs are, I think CDs are probably going to go away and we're going to get our music from hard drives. There won't be a thing that we can hold that'll have the music in it. The music will be somewhere else. It'll be digits in the air. That's what I meant. And I've made some recordings on an iPod, and when I use the highest possible bit rate, it sounds pretty good. It sounds really good. It's
Does it affect the stereo and the imaging?
pardon?
The stereo imaging
The stereo
and the soundstage, does it affect that at all? In a
It's
bad way?
good. It doesn't affect it much as far as I can tell. You have to take that with a grain of salt. Remember, I was old when Atlantis sank. So my ears are old too, so maybe I'm not hearing everything there is to hear.
Well, I think it can
But I've
get,
had a lot of training.
I think it can get better, particularly with better interfaces coming out of it.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, remember the source is just the source.
Listen to
The
Eddie's
whole
too.
system is what makes it sound good. The preamp, the amp, the solid, everything else. I mean, you think of it this way, whenever you hold up a CD, the quality of the sound is not yet appreciated. It has to flow through the rest of the system. That's where we come in. So it's true. I think CDs will probably be around for another decade, and I don't think they'll be around much after that. We'll find our songs and tunes on download software programs and on servers, music servers. I just showed Sunfire's first music server at the show, at the CEDIA show just before I came here. And it's a pretty cool thing, you know. It has all the jacket covers on the screen. And you can see the Beatles, and you push a button, you can pick the song, and it comes on. And according to Robert Harley, he likes the sound quality better from a server than directly from the CD. So I'm not going to go that far, and I can't confirm that, and I haven't yet. But I found it interesting that Robert Harley believed that. And Robert Harley, who knows who Robert Harley is? Okay, well, for those who don't, he's a journalist who's been around for a long time and is reasonably knowledgeable. So that's what he said.
You wrote a pretty good book too that goes through all the different areas.
Yeah. Any other Q&As? I mean, any other questions? Everybody had some earlier. Anybody want to have a question on cables?
Mr. Frankie.
Yeah,
How much difference does it make in speaker wire as far as the gauge of it goes? And also, what difference does it make for the metallic composition of interconnects, as for example, silver or copper, or in terms of the sound? Will the sound be the same or will it be different?
It depends on how you define sound. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody to hear it, you know, to make a sound. It's sort of philosophically like that. The movement of the speaker back and forth will be the same whether it's a piece of copper wire of a certain gauge or a silver wire of a certain gauge, or it doesn't matter. But we will hear the sound differently. We'll hear it in our heads and in our hearts. And if we hear it better with silver wire, if it sounds better with silver wire, then I'm all for buying the silver wire. My own experience has been it's impossible to toss out that feeling that you have when you listen to silver wire versus copper wire, even though I know there's no difference. So if I listen to it without peeking, which I'm listening to, then I can't tell the difference and there isn't any. But if I know which one I'm listening to, it's so powerful that I can't shake it. I really can't shake it. Now, as far as gauge goes, here's something really interesting. A long time ago, this goes back many, many years, I was over at a guy named James Bongiorno's house, and we were listening to magneplaners. Who knows who James Bongiorno is? Anybody? No? Okay, most of you know who James Bongiorno is. But he's a designer, and we were listening away, and his speaker wires were coming out, and behind his couch was a big roll of wire. Just a huge, giant, 10-pound roll of wire. It was relatively thin wire, but it was 200 or 300 feet of it. And it wasn't just, he wasn't just storing his wire. The speaker wire was wrapped around it and then went to his amplifier. A 10-pound ball. I said, Jim, why is that? What are you doing with all that wire? He said, well, and you have to close your ears if you're young, because I'm going to swear. It really sounds like blank if I don't do it that way. And what he was listening to was the resistance of that long piece of wire, and it added up to a fraction of an ohm, a good fraction of an ohm. And so, there's some argument for having thin interconnect from the amplifier to the speaker, and the British are sort of onto it too. They sold some high-fidelity listening cable that was really thin, just so thin. It was gossamer thin. It was like, well, hair. And it made the amplifier sound better, or the amplifier speaker interface system sound better. And they loved it, and they sold it, and there was a following of Brit speaker wire. Very, very thin. And it turns out that one of the reasons tube amplifiers sound like tube amplifiers, how many of you heard the tube amp that I brought today?
Love it.
Everybody loved it.
How many people liked it? Liked the way it sounded? Yay! 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 Got two hands. Well, now I'm going to tell you a little secret on how you can make any good quality amplifier sound essentially like that amplifier. And it has to do with the resistance of the wire that goes from the speaker to the amplifier. Like the British, like James Bongiorno, and that is, if you want to do it yourself, get a 1.5 ohm resistor, a resistor that has a value of 1.5 ohm, make it about 50 watts. It won't get that hot. 10 watts would be fine, but if it's 50 watts, it won't even warm up much while you're playing your amplifier. And put it between the amplifier terminals and the speaker terminals. That will achieve approximately 85% of the sound quality of an amplifier, of a tube amplifier, of the sort that you listen to today. And if you want to get 100%, and if you have tone controls, take the bass control on your preamp and crank it from noon to 12:30 or 1. And then with that and the resistor, sit back and listen. It'll sound very much like what you heard today. And you can go even one step farther. And that is, there are two sides of the resistor. The one that's hooked to the amplifier and the one that's hooked to the loudspeaker. Do you have a picture of this in your head?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there will be two terminals on the amplifier, one black and one red. The black one will go to the speaker. The red one will go to the resistor. The other end of the resistor will go to the loudspeaker. Some loudspeakers are bi-wireable, and you can break the connection from the woofer to the ribbon. I think on even some of mine, but I don't remember which one.
Yeah,
Does anybody know?
Flaps.
they
Flaps?
had the bars,
Yeah, they got four
the
terminals.
L3 pluses,
Okay, they have 3 terminals back.
4.
4. Oh, they're completely separated then. Yeah, hook the black ones together so they're common. And then take one end of the resistor, the one that's connected to the amplifier, and run that wire to the woofer one. And take the other end of the resistor and run a wire from that to the ribbon. Then put the tone controls at 12:30, maybe 1, on the bass. Leave the trebles flat. And it will sound quite different. It'll sound very tube-like. And a resistor is a lot less expensive than paying a lot of money for a big vacuum tube amp. It's not as much fun because vacuum tube